What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of On the Break. We have a good one coming to you. So let's go on and get into some basketball. Trevon, this past week, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a post on ESPN or SportsCenter, I believe, and they showed the two most likely teams to make it to the finals this season from the East and the West. Those two teams were the Clippers and the Boston Celtics. And honestly, I don't think that that's a bad pick. So, what are your thoughts on the projection for the two teams that will be going to the NBA Finals based on the ESPN metrics?
Yeah, I can see why they would project those two teams to be making it to the NBA Finals. The Clippers, they've been red hot since acquiring James Harden. I know it got off to a rough start, but they were eventually able to figure out their, rotation, their roles, and it's become a smooth running machine. And the Celtics, year in and year out, they've been atop the top two teams in the Eastern Conference slated to make it to the finals just about every year. But I would have concerns for both sides, more so the Clippers than the Celtics. The Clippers mainly because the guy that is really changing your season around, James Harden, I feel like we always have questions about him. With him being this far into his career, it's still a question of can he perform in the playoffs? Now, granted, I do think this playmaking role is a role that he can uphold on his end as far as still being productive in the playoffs. I feel like he's more willing to do it. We saw him do it with Kyrie and Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, but then he got hurt in the Kyrie situation as far as being vaccinated. With this team, it feels like it would be more feasible for him since he has scores around him. I think they're people he respects and thinks that he can really rely on. His friend Russ is there to back him up once he's out. You're allowing him to run the show. And like I said, you have those prolific scorers in Kawhi and Paul George who can really make it easy to where he doesn't have to necessarily be the one to provide offense as far as shooting the basketball and scoring. But I do have concerns about when teams in the playoffs, they're going to key in on him and force him to be the guy to score, I believe. Can he, provide and step up when you need him to do that most? Because with him being the system, as he so calls it, which I don't agree with, he is going to need to play his best game if he is the system. So I have questions about that. And then also, if they run against size, which they most likely will against a team like Minnesota or specifically the Nuggets, I do think the Clippers are deeper, but how are you going to handle that front court that Denver is going to bring with the Jokic or Aaron Gordon? Because their lineups typically only have one big man, whether it's Zubac or I think Mason Plumlee when he's in there. It is going to be very tough for them because you also have Aaron Gordon, who's 6'10 plus. You have Michael Porter Jr., who's 6'10 plus, but a perimeter threat. So those are just my concerns with them. And then health, obviously. I really hope that they can stay healthy because if it wasn't for Kawhi going out and Paul George already being out of the series, I think the Clippers would have went past that first round. And then looking at Boston, I have a little bit more faith in them just because I think at some point, if you keep going deep into the playoffs, get into the conference finals, I think at some point they're going to have to get over that hump. I know they made it to the NBA Finals the year that they lost to the Warriors. But I think at some point they're going to have to play well in the playoffs and really come through. I think inexperience has shown to hurt them in previous years, whether it was going up against LeBron in Game 7 when LeBron was basically by himself on that Cleveland team, or when they lost to the Warriors in the finals. And, just last year, all the turnovers and just not playing well, bringing their game. And I would like to see certain players step up, but I think the Celtics are more likely to make it to the finals, in my opinion, because the only team I think that can truly beat them is Milwaukee. Milwaukee does need to figure out that defensive guard to slot beside Dame, and until they figure out that on-ball ball pressure guy, I don't think they're a true threat in the playoffs because we're seeing them get exposed just about every night. They may win some games, but the defense is very ugly. So I think it's more likely for Boston to make it to the finals than the Clippers. But I can't really hate on that prediction because I think it is possible.
Yeah, no, I think you made some great points, and I really can't hate on that prediction either. I do agree with you. I have more concerns for the Clippers than I do the Boston Celtics, but over this past span, ever since November 17th, the Clippers been 22-6, and they've only lost 3 of their last 20 games. So at this point, you have to give the Clippers their respect because they're just playing that well. And they are playing a lot better than when they started off and with the trade with James Harden. I mean, you just have to give them their respect where respect is due. And I think that's a testament to the players, Kawhi, PG, Harden, and especially Russ for making that sacrifice coming off the bench and things like that. But I think the majority of the credit should go to Ty Lue because he has figured out the best way to deploy this team. And honestly, I don't think that they are even playing at the best that they possibly can. I think that they have another level that they can get to. But over this past span, I think they've done a better job of moving the basketball. I think they've done a better job of being more decisive because during that first part when Harden first got there, they were not decisive with their moves. They actually would get wide open shots, like catch and shoot shots, and wait for the defender to close out and the defense get in position and things like that. So that was kind of weird, but now they're a lot more efficient. They're a lot more decisive. Harden has done a great job of being really efficient. He's not playing that same brand of basketball where he's just dribbling the ball and stuff like he's actually moving the ball. But when you do need him to get a basket, he's done a very good job of that. His ability to play the pick and roll, I think that's done a tremendous job with helping Zubac and
Yeah,
helping him play better. That pick and roll tandem has done a very good job. And with the ball movement and being decisive, they've been able to get their role players more involved. Like Terrence Mann, he's playing very well on the defensive end and the offensive end, but that ball movement is helping get those players involved, like Norman Powell and things like that. And Russ coming off the bench, I like how they're using him. They use him in like the mid post a little bit in that mid range area and allowing him to attack with space. Kawhi and PG are playing great. Kawhi's playing at pretty much an MVP level, and the team is going to go as he goes. My only concerns about the Clippers is, their size on the interior, and if they do want to try and go small ball, are they going to be able to do that against like the Jokic's of the world? The Timberwolves, they have a big lineup, teams like that. But I think a lot is going to be said about the Clippers, this upcoming stretch that they have. They have the Timberwolves today, actually, January 14th. They have the OKC Thunder on the 16th of January, and then the Lakers again on the 23rd. So I think we're going to see, what the Clippers are actually made of going up throughout this stretch over the next few weeks.
yeah,
But the Boston Celtics, I think you hit the nail on the head with them. The thing I like about them is like, a lot of people talk about their defense and how they are able to defend on that end. On offense, they're on fire right now. They're like I think they're number 2 in the league in terms of points per possession or points per 100 possessions. I think they're at like 122 points per 100 possessions. So they're
yeah.
like second behind the Indiana Pacers, which
Mhm.
the Indiana Pacers are doing crazy on the offensive end this year, but they also have the defense. Like they're one of the, I think, top 10,
Number
maybe
4.
right out, yeah, in defense. And I
Mhm.
think that's a credit to their perimeter defense. You have the big wings like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and then you have the guy on the back end in Porzingis to protect the rim and things like that. You have Al Horford, who's a great team defender, can do a lot of things on that end. But I think they have probably the best guard tandem on that defensive end, and Drew Holiday and Derek White. So I think that's going to be a big plus for them going into the end of the season, into the postseason, and things like that. But they are top heavy. That's been something that a lot of people have said about them. So trying to figure out those reserve players and how to utilize them, I think that's going to be important moving down the stretch. But I
Yeah,
think I agree with you overall, man. The Clippers are definitely a team that I'm more worried about than the Boston Celtics, but I can't really be mad at the prediction in a way. So I'm looking forward to seeing how everything plays out.